Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your host. I'm CJ.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 426. Thank you for joining us today. We have a good show for you and good show in store for you. Unfortunately, Chris will not be here today. He's not really feeling it today, so he's gonna sit this one out. But we will press on. We're gonna talk about the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation, Horizon Zero Dawn, and some Final Fantasy 15. Plus, a little later in the show, we're going to be answering some listener questions, and we got a lot of good ones this week, so I'm very excited about that. Before we get into anything, though, Charlotte, I saw on Twitter last night that you were having a bit of fun, and hot chocolate with peppermint liqueur sounds like the most delicious thing I need to be drinking right now. You and the boyfriend went out. Was this like an outdoor winter market you went to?
We went to about 4 different Christmas markets because
Oh.
there are about 10 in the city that I live in. So yeah, we just went on a big tour, like on public transport, hopped from one to one, and yeah, we got defeated by the eggnog. The eggnog was the final boss. I was just sat there drinking it like, I regret my choices. I can't do this. And just like throwing it at him, and it was like, oh no, it's so creamy.
Was it liquored up eggnog?
It was just eggnog. We think it was just like it was called egg punch in German, but I think it was eggnog. But it tasted like I like Advocaat, so I like eggy liqueur, but this literally tasted like somebody had boiled a pan full of eggs and then poured the hot water into whatever punch. It tasted so eggy. Oh my god, so many eggs.
That is fucking horrific.
Yeah, that description, man.
That sounds like something they should serve at Garfield Eats. My god, that sounds gross.
Yeah.
Also, egg punch sounds like something you drank while listening to Kamili Miki Makau. Just sounds very
It sounds
exotic.
like a joke character in an anime super move.
Egg punch. Yeah, no, I was drinking regular, boring, old-fashioned hot chocolate when I read that. I'm like, oh man, I need to do this. Was there outdoor drinking at all the markets you went to?
Yeah, it's kind of a staple. Like, obviously, mulled wine is the big thing, but every single market this year seemed to have hot chocolate with cream and something else. Like, I went on Thursday after work as well, and I had hot chocolate with Baileys, which was incredible. So, yeah.
Have you ever had Bailey's in a shoe?
Oh, I got that reference.
Thank you. I'm glad someone did.
There's not enough old Greg nowadays. That's where the world's going wrong.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
Yes, I get that reference too. He lied. I just remember the first time I had an Irish car bomb. It was the most delicious drink I'd ever had. That's Bailey's, right? That's Bailey's in a Guinness. Yeah.
You can't say that.
What?
That's that Irish car bomb.
I don't say that in
their
America,
words,
and
CJ.
also I'm Irish, so.
Okay.
Anyways, that sounded like
Just
fun.
can I just derail
Yeah.
this for a second? Did you see the thing about how in Portugal, McDonald's created one of its sundaes but with strawberry sauce on, and they advertised it with the slogan "Sunday Bloody Sunday," and
Yes.
people in Ireland were outraged by this. Why would you not check? Why would you just take that phrase and it sounds horrible? So why would you not check? Oh my god.
Yeah, no, there's been like some really bad corporate advertising as of late. A few weeks ago, they had Coca-Cola in Germany was celebrating the anniversary of Fanta, and they were talking about the origins of Fanta without ever mentioning the Nazis. Like, oh, we're just going to leave out the whole part where you had to make Fanta because Coca-Cola wouldn't send you anything because you were all Nazis. Okay, let's just gloss over that. That'll go over well. No one will notice.
That explains a lot about Fanta.
All right, well, we're going to be talking about games in a moment, but before we get into that, I want to start us off with something of a Christmas story. You know, last week we told you about the Santa who got fired from his job for posing for naughty pictures. Last week, Tonight with John Oliver posted a video about why we should cancel SantaCon, and Occam's There was a guy in the video talking about stumbling across two drunken Santas fucking in a grocery store during SantaCon.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not an exaggeration when you brought that up.
I told you, I've seen the video, man.
There are also plenty of videos of drunken fights outside of bars, of just Santas brawling, which, you know, that's what Christmas is all about. And that kind of sort of relates to the story out of Austria. So in Austria, they celebrate a different Christmas hero, Krampus. It's a yearly tradition for people to dress up like Krampus and spend the holiday scaring kids and adults. But apparently, like SantaCon, it's getting a little bit out of hand. Police are receiving more and more reports of Krampuses being violent, including one person getting smacked in the face with a birch branch. 2 firefighters got the crap kicked out of them by a group of Krampuses. Some people thought it would be Some people thought it would be a good idea to set off fireworks, and they ended up setting their Krampus costumes on fire. So, I mean, that's kind of like retribution for beating up those firefighters. A ban on alcohol has unsurprisingly been difficult to enforce. And there have been so many that in the city of Salzburg alone, there were roughly 1,000 goat-headed Krampuses roaming the streets on November 23rd of this year. Just one day, almost 1,000 of these people out in the streets. And it's gotten so bad that cities are now instituting safe spaces where you're safe from Krampus. These are places you and your kids can go to get away from what I can only assume are your neighbors who are terrifying your kids. You know, if anything, SantaCon to me doesn't really invoke the spirit of Santa Claus, but this really does sound like it's invoking the spirit of Krampus. I mean, he's the monster who whips kids who are bad. And it seems to me like the perfect way to keep kids in line is to see adults getting their ass beat by Krampus, you know, and then vomiting in the street and passing out. You see that as a kid, you're not going to be bad, and you're also probably not going to grow up to be someone who does that.
Fair.
I'm just thinking about like what that looks like. All those Krampuses. And it's like part of it for me, it's like, okay, well, this is clearly like a video on demand horror movie plot. And like, but somebody's like poisoned the alcohol with like goblin blood or something. So they actually all turn into Krampuses. And then another part of me is like, this is the best performance art I've ever seen.
I've been to Salzburg, and I can totally imagine that happening in Salzburg because it's like really hilly and really classical, and there's the Sound of Music Museum, and then there's the big stair lift. This was a long time ago. This was like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's very sort of like traditional towny city sort of place, exactly how you'd imagine Austria to be. So just having 1,000 Krampuses wandering the streets just seems like where else but Salzburg?
I now kind of want to see what 1,000 Krampuses stuffed inside of the Sound of Music Museum looks like, because I imagine that would be just spectacular.
Oh, Krampus.
Oh, Krampus. You were popular in America for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's go
That
ahead and
one
get...
movie with
Adam Scott?
Yep.
Yeah. That's the only person I remember from it. I know there's other people I've seen.
I want to say Toni Collette was in that too.
I can't remember. I may have to watch it now just to see.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get talking about games. And Charlotte, we're going to start out with you. You've been diving into the DLC for Final Fantasy 15, I see.
I have, yes, for podcasting purposes. But I rebought Final Fantasy 15 because I originally lent it from somebody and had to give it back. So at this time, I decided to get the Royal Edition. So it came with the episode Prompto, episode Gladiolus, and episode Ignis. So I played all 3 of those. And I bought Argyn, but that was still separate as well. And then I've had to wait for it to download, so I've not quite got round to that one yet. Yeah. I like, they were fine, but I wouldn't say, and also they filled in a lot of gaps in the story, but I wouldn't say they're required playing really. I found the Prompto one a bit weird because you're firing a gun, which I know it's not like completely against the rules for a JRPG, but it still felt a little bit odd. But as it went along, the mechanics became a lot more organic and fluid, and then I enjoyed playing it a lot more. Ignis was a lot of fun. Gladiolus was also a lot of fun. Very, very, it was pretty much a copy of Dark Souls, though. I was sat next to a boyfriend who's a big Dark Souls fan, and I was like, this is sort of taking the piss out of Dark Souls, isn't it? It's like, yeah, this is pretty much like thing about taking people's souls and things like that. It was, clearly catering to people who like Dark Souls. And they were all fine, but you can get through them very fast. You can make them drag out an extra couple of hours on top of the standard completion time if you really want to milk it. And Prompto's episode has side quests as well. I think the others do as well, but Prompto's definitely has side quests. So you can make them last long if you want to, but I wouldn't say I felt like doing that. I felt like there were little bite-sized morsels of story that are kind of a nice little dessert after the main course, but not necessarily must have if your stomach's already full, so to speak. So yeah, I'm probably going to actually, talking about full stomach, I'm probably going to go back to the main game and trying to get unlock more meals, because the first time around I really wanted to have Ignis be a cookeried god, but I just didn't get around to unlocking everything. So I might try to see how many of those I can get unlocked before I record the podcast about Final Fantasy 15 on Saturday, probably.
Nice.
It was one of my favorite parts of the game was seeing what the meals look like.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were all actually created using the same equipment and I just made me so happy.
But also I noticed that apparently because I've got the Royal Edition now, I've got a cheese pizza. Ignis can make a cheese pizza, which is it doesn't look particularly appetizing, but also I swear it's an oven pizza. You can't make that on a campfire. But nice going, Square Enix.
It's do y'all have Tostino's pizzas?
No.
Yeah, they are essentially salted cardboard with cheese topping, and they were a staple of my my lower middle class life growing up, and then in college. And there's a certain fondness there, but they kind of look like a Tostino's pizza to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it looks like a Dr. Oetker pizza. Dr. Oetker is there's 10 million different varieties in the supermarket freezer, and they all cost about £2 each. So
yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
That does sound like it. Although we don't have the 10 million combinations. I think ours is just cheese, pepperoni, and combination.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Oetker brought out a chocolate pizza. It tastes like crap. But... Yeah.
I will say, Occams, I am in the same boat. I had Totino's pizza. I keep wanting to say Tostinos, but no, Totino's pizza. And then I would just, because I hated the taste of it, so I'd drench it in ranch. Anyways, I'm about 50 pounds overweight now. I don't know if those things are related. But the Royal Edition, I think that's pretty cheap now, isn't it, Charlotte?
Yeah, I picked it up for I think about €18. It's not even really worth. You wouldn't save much at all getting the base game, so I think it's pretty much worth it getting the Royal Edition. And in fact, I don't think you can buy it on the I got a physical copy, but I think if you wanted to buy it digitally on the UK PlayStation Store, I think it's actually pretty hard to buy it on its own. I think it mostly is the Royal Edition that you can buy. So yeah. I mean, there's other packages as well. I think the Steelbook has even more stuff. It comes with the film, so there are even more enhanced, or maybe not even more enhanced, but because I think the Steelbook came out when it released. But there are versions that have different stuff in. But I think if you're going to buy Final Fantasy 15 now and you want a fair amount of content, you're best going for the Royal Edition.
I think I may have to get that one because I've been buying a bunch of older PlayStation 4 games that are now cheap to get. And that one's been on my list for a while, although I didn't enjoy playing 15 on my iPad, so I don't know if I'll enjoy the original version of it. But
you played 15 on the iPad?
Yeah. They had the Pocket Edition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And my favorite thing about it is that the voice acting would at random change to different languages. And so you have one guy talking in English and then someone replies in German. It's oh, this is wonderful.
Keep you on your toes.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Occams. Occams, you've been diving into a game I played a little bit of, but now, as I just said, I've been buying up older games for cheap. I just got the Game of the Year or Complete Edition of Horizon Zero Dawn. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, it was something I've been meaning to play for a while and finally sat down and started it. It's really fun. I always get a kick out of a future where it's like some kind of melting pot of all these different types of people, but they all have dreads and they all look like they smell like asshole. Like everyone in the game looks like they've got really good mushrooms and dreadlocks that smell like piss and sweat. So I just every time I'm like, God damn, y'all just look like garbage people. But it's very fun. It's gorgeous. Jesus Christ, it's a pretty fucking game. It's really in the different environments you encounter. It's fun, and I guess I played about 6 hours now, and I've started the main thrust of the hero's journey. Shout out to Joseph Campbell. But it's really enjoyable so far. I like a bow and arrow in a game. I'm not particularly like using that in real life is way more difficult than Legolas led me to believe it would be. But in a video game, it's pretty goddamn fun. And robot dinosaurs and the creature design, the robots is really well done. I love when they can take like, okay, we have the shape of a horse and we can make a robot horse that's just like a horse with like metal and seams and bolts and stuff. But instead they sort of make it this weird, like you take a bunch of wires and like capacitors and little like computer bits and you sort of like shape it into like the rough shape of a horse and then you kind of smooth it out a little. It's really creative to me to see when technology can be kind of built into an organic shape, but still retain that very much like non-organic sort of feeling. So that's cool. And yeah, it's a fun game. I really like it so far.
It had the unfortunate timing of launch where it came out like a month, I think, before Breath of the Wild, and so it was quickly overshadowed. But I remember seeing something a few years back that Sony said it was still like very successful. So I can't wait to dive into it. We're going to have a few weeks open of like no reviews, nothing I need to do. So that's one of the games I'm eyeballing to get into. Because you're right, every video I've seen of it is just freaking gorgeous. It's damn.
Yeah, they really like. I'm playing on just old basic ass PlayStation, and it's just beautiful for me. No stuttering, no hiccups, nothing like that. It's a very, very pretty game with a lot of it's a very kind of a fully realized world, which is nice. They really took their time, kind of figured out what they wanted this place to look like, and it shows. And again, everyone has dreadlocks. Boy.
The haircut of the future, my friend.
So many white people with dreadlocks in that game.
Like every now and then I play Death Stranding, and you put up like little hologram emotes, and one of them just happens to be those giant giraffe things or whatever from Horizon Zero Dawn, and it throws me for a loop every single time. As I'm just riding my bike, and suddenly a giant robotic giraffe thing is walking across the road, and it really sucks me out of it. I'm like, oh man, that's a thing.
Oh, that would freak me out in such a out of place sort of thing for a game. That's fun.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up with me. This past week, I posted my review on Hero Land, which is a game I enjoyed, but it's one of the most difficult, I think, to recommend just because of the how it plays. It's very hands off. There were some comments in there that people believe, and this may be true, I don't know if it is, that it started as a mobile game that they turned into a nearly full price game. I really enjoyed it. I think the writing is great. If you like good, funny video game writing, give it a shot. Enough about Hero Land. Real quick, I don't know for any of you guys who play games online, but have you experienced the obviously bad parents who are your teammates in any of the games that you play online? Like, have you just come across people online who are yelling at their kids in the background to leave them alone? Because I seem to be getting a lot of that recently, and I'm wondering what the hell is going on.
So I've played a lot of Grand Theft Auto Online.
Okay.
And boy, let me tell you, that community is a cesspool. And there's like open mic basically on the entire lobby of the entire map. So I have heard parents like screaming at their kids to like fuck off and stuff that they're playing a game. There are some of the worst parents I've ever heard in that game. It's magical. Like just going into a GTA Online lobby and not muting any of the audio in terms of the microphone stuff and just listening to some of the conversations in there, it's something.
I think part of it too is that a lot of like people our age have kids and that we grew up playing these games. And maybe for some of them, they just decided like, I'm going to keep playing these games, but also we have children and they still want to like play the games like they used to, but then they have kids running around. And when you look at your kid as sort of like on the same level as your cat of annoying you, and you can like push it out of the way, or I mean, babies are kind of chubby. They can roll pretty easily, so it's one of those things where that's in my armchair psychiatrist take. That's kind of how I feel it is.
That's perfect, actually.
Yeah, I think so. When I think about what my parents would do to have like their own time to socialize without the kids or to just chill without the kids, it would be to watch a film. And I guess if like we were just being absolute wankers and like pissing them off when they're trying to watch a film, we would have probably got shouted at. So I guess maybe in like 20, 15, 10% of those cases, maybe it is that they're usually good parents, but they just want to have this time to themselves. And, they're just, the kids just won't leave them the heck alone. Like you can be a good parent and snap now and then, but you just know that maybe majority of that, especially if they've like got a really heavy presence online, they're spending huge amounts of time on this online game, that maybe they're not the best at parenting,
Yeah, it's like that old comedy bit about how when you see a parent screaming at their kids, you're seeing the end of the conversation and you missed all the build up to it of the parent pleading with them to please behave, please be quiet, come on, just please, 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 and then it gets to yelling.
Yeah, I try not to judge parents. Like when you see parents yelling at their kids in public, like sometimes you can tell that the parent just yells at their kid constantly, but sometimes you can't, and you just have to try and have a little bit of sympathy, especially because like if the kid it's just you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But yeah, if a parent's got like racking up like 10 hours a day on Grand Theft Auto online, and they're a parent, then those two things are kind of start to become mutually exclusive at some point. Being a good parent and having hours upon hours racked up on this online account. So I think it's a complicated picture, but I think on the extremes, when somebody's just letting go on their kid on mic, then yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, see, I'm in the same boat of that. I try not to judge. You might remember there was that picture from a few years ago that popped up of like a dad playing, I think it was Xbox, and one of his daughters was like clinging to his arm, and the other one was painting his toenails, and that like had a whole bunch of discussion about whether that was good or bad parenting. I'm not going to judge that, but I had a guy this past week I'm definitely judging because he blamed his child for the loss that we suffered.
Nice.
Wow.
was playing Overwatch, as I do, and he was Sombra, would not switch off of Sombra no matter how many times he should have. And then at the end of the match when we lost, like got our asses handed to us, I could just hear him, "That you did that. You caused that," to his kid. I'm just thinking, Jesus Christ.
Take solace, CJ, in knowing that one day that child's going to stab that man to death.
Oh,
that or have tons of insecurities.
I mean, a few weeks ago, I was just getting paired up with all these streamers who wanted me to like and subscribe, and now it's just I'm getting like bad parents, and just thinking, why can't I get normal people on this fucking game? I need to switch to something else.
Yeah, I don't think normal people do play Overwatch.
You are listening to Podtoid.
Let's go ahead and move on. That is it for games, but we do have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. And there was some news that we had this week. We have a Sony State of Play coming up in a couple of days, and somebody made a video game called I Am Jesus Christ, which is a VR game where you play as the whitest fucking Jesus imaginable. But for this episode, we're just going to focus on one story, and that is the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation. The original PlayStation 1, if you want to call it that, launched on December 3rd, 1994 in Japan, and it would arrive in North America and Europe less than a year later. We all kind of know how the PlayStation came about because it was a deal that Sony had struck with Nintendo before Nintendo reneged on it and teamed up with Philips for the just blockbuster selling Philips CDI. So many great games from that team up. In the 90s, this led to Nintendo creating its own worst enemy as the PlayStation became hugely popular and eventually selling more than 100 million units, which I believe no Nintendo system had ever done at that point in time. And the rest is pretty much history. Next year, we're going to get our PlayStation 5. Maybe we'll find out more about it at the State of Play. So I just want to ask you guys if you have any memories of the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, that you'd like to share.
Yeah, for me, it was like the first video game console to be. I just where I realized video games could be much more in terms of storytelling. It was the first like system where I played something like Metal Gear Solid, and I was actually like really into the story, and the voice acting was compelling and everything. I was like, wow, video games can actually be interesting in terms of a narrative. Little kid mind was just blown away by that. I feel like Metal Gear Solid and the PlayStation is where I really got into video games, where I became kind of an enthusiast, if you will, I guess.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I would say that is probably the game that became a turning point on what I believed video games could become. For all the kind of the same reasons, the storytelling, the cinematic nature of it.
Yeah.
It was mature, rated M for mature in a way that wasn't just because it was bloody and violent, but because it was I want to say sophisticated, but maybe not the game where you can spy on someone taking a piss at a urinal is sophisticated. But it was the mature game that went beyond just what the childish thought ideas of what being mature game is. It was just something that's super violent and bloody and skulls being ripped out with spines attached. So that for me was kind of the first game that really did that really changed my outlook on video gaming as an industry and as a medium. But I will say that my favorite memory is also my worst memory, and that is playing Resident Evil 2, going down into those damn sewers, seeing the spiders on the screen, throwing the controller down, and running out of the room screaming. I'm never going to live that down. I might as well embrace it. That I was just such a baby.
I remember capturing footage for the Resident Evil 2 review, the remake, the 2019 one, prior to embargo and stuff. And like obviously when you're doing that, there's no guides or anything online, there's no tips. You're going in blind as blind can be. Nobody's talking about this game yet in that sense of giving tips and guides and whatnot. Yeah. So I was just dreading the thought of hyper-realistic spiders. And I kind of still am. Like, I got a funny feeling they're gonna come back probably in 3 or something, but I was so relieved that they weren't in the game.
Man, PlayStation was a real turning point for me. Because Super Nintendo kid, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and then PlayStation comes out, and it's this crazy thing, and there's all these like graphics I've never seen in my life and all. So go to Blockbuster, and for our younger viewers or listeners rather, Google that, I guess. I don't know.
Blockbuster is like a red box. That's an entire store you walk into.
Yeah. And guys with like degrees and stuff like English and psychology work there for the rest of their life until they shut down. And I am able to convince my father to put the $250 credit card security deposit down to rent me a PlayStation. And he did not want to, but I begged and pleaded. So I got to rent a PlayStation. It came in this giant plastic suitcase. And you get that, and it was a deal. You rent that, it was $20 for I think 5 days, and you get that in 2 games. And I forget what the first game was, something I don't know, blah. But the other game was Resident Evil, first Resident Evil, and I just thought it looked cool, it sounded interesting, and so we get it home. I set it up and all, and I proceed to play Resident Evil for the first time, and it was the first time in my life a video game ever scared me, and I was hooked. I adored it. I didn't know I could be scared by a video game. I didn't know a video game could do that to me. Mm-hmm. Of course, I didn't have a memory card, so I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. There was no like strategy guide for this thing, so I'm just running around being terrified of that music, cello, and then the zombie moaning and all. But I was just over the moon happy with that experience, and that was probably my first biggest impact with a PlayStation console. And then over the years, God, I mean, we played that thing up through high school, college. I mean, I remember going to a friend's house, and we would I'd have to sneak over to play Final Fantasy Tactics with him because it was like a school night and we weren't supposed to be out playing so late, but we're like, some kids are out drinking and fucking and stuff. We're just playing Final Fantasy Tactics. And oh man, it was such a wonderful system. One of my favorites and some really fond memories.
Yeah, I feel like that was the first jump scare for pretty much everyone. Just those dogs crashing through the windows in the first Resident Evil.
Yeah.
That shit made me like fumble my controller as a kid and just panic.
And the way the camera would switch up and is really kind of cinematic take. That's something I just never seen before in games. And I wasn't a PC gamer. I wouldn't really come till later. And even then, not super heavy into it. So this was really for a lot of people, I suppose, with the console generation. This was their first experience with a lot of different types of things in games that we just hadn't seen before. The technology just wasn't there to do it.
Those camera angles, especially, just the intentional way that they reveal, or they show you only the small bits of the room, or they show you it from a certain angle that it can be at its most frightening. God, it's just so fucking well put together. Plus,
you were almost a Jill sandwich.
I mean, who can forget that? I mean,
so true. And the fact that we put up with tank controls and we made it work.
I don't know how we did it, honestly.
I don't either. I mean, we beat all the Resident Evils with tank controls, for the ones that came out with them. And Jesus Christ.
And you got to remember, the original Resident Evil launched before they had the DualShock controller, so it was just the directional pad, much like the PlayStation Classic or whatever that fucking thing's called that I haven't even hooked up yet. Ugh, that was dumb.
You know what you can do with that though?
Hack it.
Hack it. Like, and the people sell these USB drives on Amazon that have like 200 games on them for like $15. You should just get one or two of those. I have them, and it's an amazing thing. I love it, and mine was gifted to me, but spending the money to get that USB thing was money well spent, to put it mildly.
Yeah, so actually I have a bit of a different perspective on the original PlayStation. So my experience as a kid with games consoles was all due to my aunt. So I never really had any, like, everybody at school had older brothers who were playing Resident Evil, and that's how they ended up playing Resident Evil. Whereas for me, it was like my aunt liked FIFA, and when she had a Mega Drive before she got her PlayStation, because she got her PlayStation before I got mine, she got the one without the analog sticks. Mm-hmm. She was just really into sports games, and so she had Italia 90 for the Mega Drive, but she also had Sonic, so it was also things like Crash Bandicoot and Rayman that she was interested in. So it's like I never got that experience with horror games in the PlayStation 1. I just heard from other people how terrifying these games were, and it put me off playing scary games, just hearing the playground talk about Resident Evil, and then the Resident Evil 2 and 3 and Silent Hill and so forth. So I never built up that tolerance for scary games by playing them in that era, because in part because I was too young, and in part because I didn't have any sort of, I know it's stereotypical, but I did feel like if you had a male role model in your life who was playing these things, that's how you got it. Back in those days, it was more like older brothers who was playing that sort of thing. If you were my age, but I have really, really positive memories of the PlayStation, precisely because my aunt got one first. She got, like I say, the one that was just the directional pad, and just endless hours of fun watching her play Theme Park and watching her trying to play FIFA with her and just scoring endless own goals. And then eventually I actually got my PlayStation, which was the full DualShock, not DualShock, you know what I mean, analog stick variant. I got that as a present, quotation marks, from my sister when she was born. Like, I was the only child who was suddenly no longer an only child, so I got a PlayStation as compensation. But it was quite late in the day by then. There must have been some sort of deal on it. It was 1999, so and that's also kind of the start of me getting consoles, and also the start of me getting consoles pretty late. Like, I've always been kind of a late bloomer with consoles because my parents didn't want to spend the money, like, quite understandably, didn't want to spend the money getting it 2 years when I might get fed up of it within 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm still getting stuff late. Still haven't got my Switch. Still, I got my PlayStation 3 in 2015. So, yeah.
I like the idea of your parents giving you a PlayStation because that's what's going to raise you now as they have a new child to focus on.
Exactly. They just plonked me down with like Crash Bandicoot 2. And then when I couldn't complete it, my aunt completed it for me. And that was what raised me from the age of 8. So, yeah.
That's a lovely story of having an aunt who is into video games because, you know, like you said, it's usually the older brother, or in my case, I had an uncle who had he had an Asteroids arcade in his apartment that I loved playing. So yeah, it was never the aunts in my family until Wii Sports came around.
Can I tell one quick story about
Yeah, go ahead.
PlayStation? Very quick. So we're in the dorms. Final Fantasy IX has just come out. And my buddy Nathan and I, we drove to his house to pick it up, drive back to the dorms, set it up. We're playing. We're going to fucking marathon this shit. I'm going to go start playing. We're like probably sitting there for 6 or 7 hours playing it. Just super nerd. It's great. Such a fun time. Our buddy Travis walks up and he's like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" They're playing Final Fantasy IX. It's like we're in the middle of a boss fight. He goes, "Anybody want a peppermint?" He's like, "Hell yeah, peppermint. Toss one my way." He throws the peppermint. Peppermint bounces off the palm of my hand. It goes, and it lands on the reset button on the PlayStation.
No.
And we had not saved in like probably 3 hours.
Oh, I feel that pain.
Yeah, it was perfect. It's horrificness. I mean, we couldn't recreate that moment if we tried, but that's something that always stuck in our head. We were trying to beat Resident Evil 2, and my friend's PlayStation was so like janky and fucked up from just like traveling too much to different houses, and so we were able to like fighting the final boss, but he had to he figured out if he holds down the reset button down and the cover, like it won't reset, but it works. It's one of those things where you like if you blow on your Nintendo and you leave it at a 36.2 degree angle and you don't put any light on it, it works, but otherwise it all fucks up. It's one of those. So we made him sit there and hold those buttons down while we beat Resident Evil 2, because otherwise it would kept resetting.
Oh, the 90s. How I miss ye.
I remember, I just had a distinct memory just now of being on the playground and first hearing the word PlayStation, and then it sounded like the stupidest thing ever. Just the naming convention, PlayStation. I remember just as a kid first hearing that, being like, what kind of name is that? And just being just simply put off for a bit until I eventually got my own and was like, oh, no, I understand now.
Yeah, it's not more stupid than Mega Drive. Like, Mega Drive is such a weird sounding name for a console. Genesis is way better. Even though it's wrong, it's still way better.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for the news, which means it is time for the Podtoid question of the show.
Why don't you try speaking in words instead of your damn dirty lies?
Sorry, that is not the Podtoid question of the show. Today's questions come from you, our audience, in a segment we like to call the Goddamn Mail.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Goddamn mail.
And we're going to go ahead and start with a question from our own Necro. Necro wants to know, Occams, are you secretly a swarm of spiders in a meat suit?
You know, I read this question and I felt seen. Really, maybe for the first time in my life. Yeah. So, you know, I think in a lot of ways I am. Maybe not in the ways you would expect. But I think in some ways, yes, I am.
Well, that would explain why your beard and hair are just cats. They're just trying to get to those insects inside.
That is very true.
Yeah. Our next question comes from Bacon One Eggs. They ask, if you were one of Santa's elves and led a rebellion, how would you go about breaking free from your enslavement and overthrowing the tyrant Saint Nicholas?
You know, I'd like to imagine Santa keeps all his elves kind of chained to one another in a big line somewhere. And if I was stuck in that position, you know, what I would do is I would consume my fellow elves till there was none left. So I would just begin, you know, slaughtering them and eating them, which would then turn me into a super powerful and bloated elf. Not only that, but I would have a cool chain whip with various elf bones attached to it. So with that combination of being massively bloated and powerful with a cool chain whip, I'd defeat Mr. and Mrs. Claus, consume them as well, which would then require a great deal of rest. So now I would sleep for a period of roughly about 360 days. I'd awaken anew with a beard, and I would don the robe, and the cycle would begin anew.
It's like if the Santa Claus was a horror film.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it kind of is.
I mean, there's something that just popped straight into my head. Like, it seems like the obvious answer, which is to replace the reins on the sleigh with some sort of very frayed rope, so they had enough time to take off, but then mid-flight, he falls to his death.
Yeah, see, I was on the same path. I was thinking Roofy the reindeer. You know, it won't set in right away, but once it does, they're going down, and he's going down with them.
Huh.
All right, so you'll know that eggnog is elf cum, right?
I do now.
Yeah. And I'm let me just say, I'm not the first person to make that reference or that observation in this world, but one I wholeheartedly agree with, especially after your description of what it was earlier, like boiled egg water. Fuck, it's gonna. I feel like I need to shower just hearing that. So here's what you do. You got to you're playing the long con here. We're going to pull a Philadelphia. All right. You're going to give Santa Claus AIDS. And then...
We're just going to skip over the how of that. Okay.
What do you... It's elf cum. He drinks eggnog.
So first you have to give an elf AIDS.
Oh, they have a... Look, guys.
Man.
We're adults. We don't have to pretend that the elves don't have AIDS. They get around. All right? It's like the 90s never happened for the elves. They are barebacking it. Fucking I mean, it's a well-known fact that elves are bug chasers. All right, very well-known fact. And then Santa drinks the eggnog because it's what he does. Mm-hmm. Fucking nightmare. Then all of a sudden he has a little sniffle that won't go away for like 15 years. Drops dead, and the elves are free.
That is the long con indeed. That is the slowest possible way. You might not even live to see it because apparently all elves have AIDS. So
they do, but elf. See, here's the thing. It's kind of like how cats can have AIDS and not give it to people. The elves, they're okay with their AIDS. It's all right, but then they end up giving it to Santa. Basically, I just want the elves to have AIDS, guys. I don't really care about this question. I just wanted to say that elves have AIDS.
I think we should start a petition so that Occam's can write and direct a Rankin and Bass Christmas special.
I would. I would have it's just be the plot of Philadelphia, really, with the same soundtrack, just the elves.
All right, next question from Zombie Corpse. This week we did some post on the games that define the decade, and so they're asking, a lot has happened within the past decade. What are your most memorable moments in gaming? This was a tough one for me because there are just so freaking many. But I think it was like one moment that I really enjoyed was going to, and you might remember they used to do this for the 3DS where they'd have meetups. Like people would go and you'd exchange your friend code and street pass information. And I remember going to one of those at like an outdoor mall, and I got a pretzel and a lemonade, and I just played Kid Icarus Uprising with total strangers with my 3DS, and that was such a nice, pleasant, pleasurable moment. So I don't know if it's the best thing that happened to me this past decade in terms of gaming, but it is one that I treasure.
Are pretzels and lemonade only good at the mall?
Yes.
Yeah, because I can't think of any other time I've had pretzels and lemonade and been like, this is like, if my mom was like, I made pretzels and lemonade, I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? That sounds just like a stomachache, but at the mall, it's pretty awesome.
Well, at the mall, they're making the pretzels fresh. Anywhere else, they're buying the frozen ones and microwaving that shit.
They're not making those fresh. They're getting the dough shipped in from Topeka. It's all frozen. They're tired. They hate their job.
Well, I mean, they're at least assembling them fresh there, right in front of you.
That's fair.
For the minimum wage job.
That is fair.
You got one, Occams?
I do. Two, actually. The PT demo. You can't see me. I'm like smiling like an asshole into the microphone right now. And then playing Bloodborne. That when Bloodborne came out, and I realized how much of like a Lovecraftian kind of influence it was. Like it's one of those things I didn't know I wanted it in my life life, and my life was a little bit better for it. It's still one of my maybe top 5, top 3 games of all time. Just fucking Bloodborne, man, so good.
I would say getting involved with the speedrunning stuff and so in my sense of it, through socializing and also getting involved in charity stuff. And also it helped to bridge the gap between what I was doing with games before and streaming, because I never really understood Twitch until I started getting involved in those events. And I know that often Twitch gets a bad rap, and there's certain people like famous streamers who are not in people's good books right now, but there are some smaller streamers who are just lovely and a joy to work with, to raise money for charity and also just to hang out with. So the ability to go abroad and spend a week and a half hanging out with like-minded people and, you know, doing things like reading donations out on camera and, you know, about a week ago I did some I took over their Twitter channel for a weekend. It's just all such great fun, and also stuff that feels like it's building yourself up personally in the same sense that podcasting and writing does. So yeah, I would say anything that just gets me out of my house and gets me meeting more people and doing good stuff is a highlight.
You know what? My first ever bona fide video game convention was this year, EGLX. That'll be it for me, I guess. I was in a place full of people that played video games. It was kind of nice. And I ate terrible Garfield food.
You know, I was going to say E3, but then I remembered the influencer and pole position. And I'm like, no, it definitely can't be E3. Our next question is kind of a mashup. Both Goofy or Brute and Knick-Knack My Whack wanted to know what we thought of the VGA nominees and if we thought there was any game that was overlooked. Chris isn't here, but I think I know what he would answer for this. And so I'm just going to speak for him. And if I'm wrong, he will tell me tomorrow. But Ape Out, action game from Devolver Digital, got really high scores, scored really good, got really great reviews, great feedback from the community. I don't think it was nominated for anything. I think it's kind of just one of those games that was really good right then, and then people kind of just moved on to something else. And like a lot of Devolver Digital games have that happen. What was that? My Friend Pedro was another one. You know, just this kind of quick little easy, brilliant action game that people just forget about a week later. And it's a shame because those are very well-made games that get pushed aside in favor of the larger, more well-known ones. So
I think part of the problem with that too, with Devolver Digital, and they make fucking wonderful experiences, but they're very like bite-sized chunk kind of experiences. It's stuff that I think lends itself well to speed running and to like kind of friends coming over and going, oh, that's awesome. But I don't know how much it has in terms of the legs in a community. But they are consistently making wonderful games. So kudos to them.
Yeah, it's a shame. I don't think they get the props they get because everyone just associates them with that kind of crazy developer that does the weird ass E3 presentation. So Charlotte, you got an answer for this?
Not really. I'm kind of reminding myself, looking through the list, and I'm kind of like, I can see why that got nominated. I'm kind of, nothing really sticks out as. I just the thing is, I don't know. No, I think esports is a lot. Is just I'm not personally a big follower of esports, but it's definitely to the point now where it deserves to have several categories in a Game Awards thing. It's just personally, I can't really follow it. So I'm kind of, at first I was a bit like, really? Is there like 4 different awards for various esports stuff? But yeah, it's me being an old fogey.
Nah, I'm in the same boat as you.
Though it does seem like a lot of games are getting nominated several times and like the potentially stuff is getting overlooked. That's a bit of a concern. And you also have to wonder, I mean, this is the one that Jeff Keighley's involved in, right?
Yes.
Is it a conflict of interest that Death Stranding is nominated so many times?
That was the big conversation. Was that last week or the week before?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the question.
That is the elephant in the room.
Yeah. And to answer your question, yes.
Yeah, and to be That's to be fair, but I think it's telling that happened. But we're not watching because we're like, this is really a shining showcase for what's happening in games right now. People watch for the trailers, for the reveals,
Those 10
and they
new
know
game
that.
reveals.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I watch really just because I love talking and shit in the comments with everybody. That's so much fun for me. But it's the day they don't have to like have those game reveals and make, and treat it as a more serious award show. Like it would. I think that'll be I don't know if a turning point's the right word, but at least it'll take itself a little more seriously.
Kind of in the same boat of Charlotte. I think what's been nominated there is fine. It's whatever. It's just kind of what I expected. But if I had to pick out a game that I think deserves more recognition that came out too early in the year and kind of got buried by everything, was Devil May Cry 5. It's maybe one of my favorite games this year, and it's not really in there a whole lot. So.
All right, go ahead. Moving on. Retrofraction wants to know, is Bad Boys Michael Bay's best work? Occam's?
Nope.
No, not even close.
No, it is not even close. His actual best work is the "I Would Do Anything for Love" video by Meatloaf.
For me, it was because it wasn't clear. Is it only films he's directed, or does it also include films he's produced? Because The Quiet Place wins hands down of all of his filmography, because that's an amazing movie, but he only produced it.
I'm just gonna say Occam's has the best answer. I mean, that's it. That's his best work. He peaked.
I think if I had to pick a film, I'd probably pick The Rock, just as like a really, just in terms of an action movie. Like I think The Quiet Place is a better movie, but I think what Michael Bay has brought to the cinema genre as an action movie director, I think he kind of paved the way for your Fast and Furiouses and different things where it's just, I mean, it's almost like cartoonish levels of explosions and violence.
I just remember the gay hairdresser at the beginning of the movie, and I hate it so fucking much.
No. He's let's not. He's kind of a garbage dude, and he does like a lot of garbage shit in his movies. That's fine. We live in a world of Woody Allen, Roman Polanski. So yeah, absolutely. But I think just in terms of like strictly for evolving action films as we like big Western action films as we know them, explosions and like chugging guitar riffs and stuff, I think that's, to me, a little more influential, but The Quiet Place is a much better. Yeah.
I watched Armageddon when I was a kid, and I thought it was great. So I'm really shocked looking at Wikipedia that it got a negative rating on Rotten Tomatoes. But this is from my memories of watching it as a kid, so it could be that I rewatch it now and think it's garbage. But also, it had a ride at Disneyland in Disneyland Paris. So I was under the impression this was like a really good blockbuster, amazing film, but apparently it was a bag of shite. So
Joe Seward wants to know, nighttime shower or morning? I don't understand people who shower at night. Morning
I
shower 100. Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, when you live with somebody else, it helps with scheduling if one of you showers at night, but also it relaxes you. Like, it relaxes you before bed. And also, I'm a woman, so I don't sweat that much. So
you glow. I get it.
Right.
Yep.
I do. Yeah.
Please check your privilege. Charlotte, I'm in the same boat. I shower at night. I don't understand showering in the morning. It's the last thing I want to do when I wake up is have to go. Yeah. Like it's just another fucking thing I have to do before I have to go do a thing I don't particularly want to do anyway, which is go to work. So I don't know why you wouldn't shower at night.
You're all crazy. Cold morning showers is a brisk way to wake up.
Ugh, you sound like one of those assholes who jogs in the morning and talks about it.
I'm going to get my girlfriend a Peloton for Christmas. That's the type of asshole I am.
Yeah, really.
Dan, I assume you take baths.
Hey, you're spot on. My dog is barking right now, so that'll be in here probably. But no, I mix it up. If I know that I'm going to be going outside and interacting with other human beings, I'll shower in the morning and whatnot. But a lot of the time when I wake up and I know I'm going to be just staring at my monitor, like editing a video all day, I'll just save it for the evening.
All right, our next question comes from Brett Macedonsky, Make Dawn Sky. Brett Smith, we'll just call him that. How many good holidays are there?
I like to call him Bidonk, but the only holiday that I like that involves booze, candy, and costumes isn't even a real one, apparently. So I guess none is the answer for me.
No.
I didn't know you were a fan of Easter.
The only correct answer to this question is 1, and it's Guy Fawkes Day.
You know Warner Brothers copyrighted that mask.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, bunch of assholes.
Good job, guys.
It's like the Kardashians trying to copyright or trademark the phrase "rise and shine." Like, oh, you.
Can't wait for that plane to go down.
Yeah. Charlotte, you got an answer for this?
Anything that gets me the maximum amount of days off work. So Easter's like the thing is in Germany that often if a holiday falls on a weekend, tough luck. So the fact that Easter is the one holiday where it's set that you have the Friday and the Monday off is a real advantage. So Easter's always a good one.
Nice.
Yeah, Christmas is always a bit weird, like, you know, if there's somebody you don't want to see and then you have to see them, or like, you know, you're traveling and it's a bit unpleasant. But to be honest, I tend to get enough days off that I can relax if I've had to deal with something unpleasant. So I like Christmas as well.
I will be spending Christmas alone this year, drinking not eggnog now after hearing what it is, but hot chocolate. Putting together a Lego set, and that is going to be my entire day. I'm going to be awake for 7 hours and then just sleep through the rest of it.
That sounds wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Our next question comes from the Limo Maker.
Real quick.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The correct answer is Halloween. It's the best holiday ever. I wish every day was Halloween. And then Christmas is up there too. I like Christmas.
Every day is Halloween if you're goth.
You broke them. That's all the spiders is buzzing right now inside.
That is very true. Yeah, but it's Halloween and Christmas. The end.
Okay. Our next question comes from the Limo Maker. They want to know what 3 studios that we would like to see create properties based in the Lord of the Rings universe. For me, I would go with Monolith Soft because they are great at creating just giant worlds I love to immerse myself in. From Software because they would make an Aragon game with sword fighting that would be amazing. And then Compile Heart because I want to see Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin reimagined as an all-girl idol group and Gandalf as a young, effeminate man they all pine after. I think that would be a great Lord of the Rings game.
These would make me a fan.
Occam's, you got an answer?
Kinda. I realized I don't know the names of many studios when I was reading this. And at first I was like, oh, the Witcher 3 people. But then they kind of already made a Lord of the Rings game. So, and I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings, like at the property fan. So I don't, like, that's not a world I'm super invested in. I played the Shadows of Mordor games just because you could just murder the fuck out of orcs, which is fun. But yeah, so FromSoft, Vanillaware. Let's do that.
Hell yeah.
Let's see what kind of game they can make there. And I'm gonna go out on top and end my answer there.
Our next question comes from Triceratops. They want to know if you had to make a necklace from many of the same part of a video game baddie, what part would it be and from what baddie? I saw this question this morning. I think, oh, I wonder what I would do. And then I realized I would make a holiday-themed necklace using the corpses of Goombas that I turn into bells.
Is this kind of like a shrunken head thing where they're a little desiccated?
Yeah, pretty much. Dan, you have an answer for this?
I love that.
Yeah, Liquid Snake's arm just by itself from Metal Gear Solid 1. So then I could capture his essence at any moment in time and drop real cool quotes. Take my sunglasses off.
That is a piece of jewelry. We call that a statement piece.
Charlotte?
I would carve the eye out of William Birkin and just string it on some chain. That would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be great. Now,
though it would probably be so piece. It'd probably be so oversized. It'd be like, you know, like Flavor Flav had that big clock necklace. Yeah.
That's great.
Finally, Zalno is asking, quote, okay, hear me out on this one. Suppose there was a Devolver Digital themed pop-up restaurant. What would you order off the menu? And then they added, and yes, CJ, genital jousting is an option. So first of all, thanks, Zalno, because clearly I'm the gay one on the show, and I'm just going to go to a restaurant and eat dicks, because I'm just nothing but a fairy to you. That is ignorant, and that is homophobic.
Homophobe. Homophobe. There's a homophobe right here. Homophobe alert. Homophobe. Woo, 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 woo.
So anyways, I would order the genital jousting corn dog. And you might be thinking that the dick and the balls would be the corn dog, but no, you'd be wrong. That's the stick you hold on to, because if you've seen genital jousting, you know that John the Dick, the protagonist of the game, takes many things into his mouth/anus, and so that's where the hot dog would be. And Zalno, I really hope you like that answer.
So hang on a minute, because I'm not super familiar with Devolver Digital as a publisher. Is this like legit food in their games, or can we make something up?
I guess we're just making shit up.
Okay.
I don't think there's a genital jousting corn dog.
I don't know. I've never played the game. I thought you might have been being serious. So I have played Dropsy. Have any of you played Dropsy?
I know of Dropsy.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. I just feel like, he's such a delightful clown. Like, I've not finished it in case he turns out to be a horrible murderer or something. I've not finished the game, okay? But from what I've seen, he's just a delightful clown who wants to give people hugs, and people are scared of him, and it's very sad, and he accidentally burnt his mother to death or something. But I feel like I would want to eat his food just to make him feel better. So if he made me like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and accidentally sat on it, I'd still eat it just to, make him feel alive for once. So yeah, I'd eat Dropsy's food. I'd let him cook something for me, and it would taste terrible, but I would smile through the pain and then pat him on the head.
Oh, that's like a mother forced to eat like a Play-Doh sandwich their kid makes for them. Thank God it's not toxic. Dan?
Real quick, I'm sorry. Yeah. But if you're a mother and your child brings you a Play-Doh sandwich, you don't have to eat it. Like, you can just lie to your kid. The way you lie about like Santa and babies and stuff for a long time. Just don't eat a Play-Doh sandwich. Be a better mother than that. Don't let your child control you.
Disagree. Eat the sandwich. Don't disappoint your child.
Disappoint
your child.
But
then the child will end up like eating all of its Play-Doh, and it'll end up with some sort of bowel obstruction. This is not good. This is not good parenting.
Although, counterpoint, the kid would have some super cool looking turds.
Dan?
I'm gonna go with Helmet's Miami Mocha. It'd just be a crappy, sugary, chocolatey coffee beverage. But after you're done drinking it, the phone booth outside would ring, and you would have to do exactly what the person on the other side of that phone asks you, no matter what.
But what if the guy on the end of the phone was just like, also buy yourself a cookie, you've deserved it.
Then you gotta go back in and spend more money. That's how they maybe trap you, actually.
Yeah. True.
I was kind of thinking the same thing on Hotline Miami, only it's a pop-up gas station where it's just gas station food. So tornado dogs, questionable nachos, old sandwiches, and coffee. But the lighting is like everything from the Fight Club meets Joe versus the Volcano, where it's just that really harsh, weird lighting.
Yeah.
And then when it's done, you go home and leave because it's just a restaurant, and that's it.
All right. This has been the Goddamn Mail.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Goddamn mail.
All right, we are just about out of time, but before we go, Occams, do we have a community shout out this week?
We do. We absolutely do. Community shout out. It's to a hashtag this week. Switching it up. Curstmas. Oh, my favorite time of the year, Curstmas.
I've been seeing those.
When everybody shares their cursed images. Phil Ken7 is doing a 12 days of Curstmas thing, which has been no small amount of joy in my waking world. So everyone who's contributing to Curstmas, thank you so much. Big shout out. It's one of my favorite things that happens this time of year on the site, and it's been real fun. Thank you.
Nice. All right, that is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Charlotte, Dan, Occams, and myself, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, and be sure to join us next week for the last new Podtoid of 2019.